Entire history of Nigeria from its creation up until the Civil War. Every story begins with a dream. This one begins with a river, a mighty, winding river, bringing together 1,000 streams. In 1914, a line was drawn on a map, not by the people who lived here, but by a distant power. They called it Nigeria, a name, not yet a nation, a geography in search of a destiny. Our true story, of course, began centuries earlier. In the soaring walls of Benin, the scholarship of Timbuktu, the metalwork of Nok, the vibrant markets of Kano, and the democratic spirit of the Igbo, we were never a blank page. We were a library of ancient and glorious civilizations. And so, when the dream of independence began to whisper across the land, it was not one voice but a chorus that grew into a roar. Freedom! They were lawyers, journalists, teachers, farmers, all united by a single, shining vision to write our own story. On October 1st, 1960, the world watched as the white-green flag was raised. We wept with joy. We were giants, finally standing in the sun. The first chapter was euphoria. We were the promise of Africa. But writing a future together is harder than winning it from someone else. Our chorus, so powerful in unity, now contained different songs, different visions for the path ahead. The old lines on the map began to tremble. Politics became a wedge, not a bridge. Suspicion grew where trust had been. And then, in 1966, the tremors became a quake. Coups, counter-coups, violence, the dreams seemed to shatter into a million pieces. In the East, a deep and profound fear took root. The feeling of being unsafe in the house we all built. And so, in 1967, they chose to leave, to build a new house called Biafra. And here the story breaks its own heart. For the dream of one became the nightmare of all. To keep Nigeria one, they said, is a task that must be done. And for 30 long, brutal months, brother fought brother. The world watched as a dream starved and died on the front pages. It wasn't just a war of soldiers. It was a war on hope itself. 1 million dreams, perhaps more, were buried in that red earth. And in January 1970, the guns fell silent. One side said, "No victor, no vanquished." The other laid down its arms. But the silence after the storm is the loudest sound of all. A nation stood whole again on the map. But how could it ever be the same? This is where our true test began. Not the test of winning freedom, but the test of living with it after loss. The test of forgiveness when memory is a wound. The test of building a we from a them. The Civil War is not just a chapter in our history. It is the furnace in which our modern spirit was forged. We learned a terrible, priceless truth, that a nation is not a line on a map. It is a choice, a daily, deliberate choice to see the brother, the sister, in the face that is different from yours. Look at us now. We are the survivors of that furnace. We are the grandchildren of that dream and that nightmare. We carry both in our DNA. We argue loudly. We struggle deeply. The old ghosts sometimes whisper, but we are still here, still trying, still building, still creating art that stuns the world, music that moves it, spirit that defies every obstacle. Our story is not a fairy tale. It is an epic, and epics are not defined by their battles, but by the character they reveal in the aftermath. Nigeria is not a perfect story. It is a continuing story, a resilient story, written every single day by you and you and you. We began as a geography. We survived a war, but our destiny is forged by the relentless, courageous, beautiful choice to keep believing, to keep building, to keep choosing us. The dream of 1960 is still alive. It's just stronger now. It's been tested by fire, and it is ours to finish. Our story continues. Like, share, comments, and follow for more.